second. Oh, hi. Hi, everybody. Hi. Welcome to the Green Room YXE. It is March 10th today, and we're coming to you live from Saskatoon. And I'm Leslie.
Hi, I'm Johnny.
And this is episode number 7, so pretty cool. We are a live show, but you can check out the No YXE YouTube channel for our previous episodes. So what's coming up this Sunday is the 63rd Annual Grammys, and they're hosted by Trevor Noah. They're at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there's going to be performances by Taylor Swift, BTS, Harry Styles, Post Malone, Maren Morris, DaBaby, Billie Eilish, and many more. It's going to be kind of cool and different because they're going to have some artists performing live at the convention center with 4 stages in a round. And then, of course, some performances are going to be taped. They were taped earlier. And they're also paying tribute to independent music venues by having workers from the clubs like the Apollo Theater in New York City and Nashville Station Inn and the Troubadour in LA. And they're going to have the workers present the awards, which is a really cool idea to get everybody involved, because I don't know about you guys, but I think that the Grammys is just, again, it makes me feel a little bit like things are not a pandemic. Like, just you can go to that, because we would usually watch, the music awards and stuff like that, and definitely watch them with our son. And not having them just kind of makes it feel more weird. So it's just nice, I feel like, to have them on Sunday to make us feel a little bit more kind of normal. How are you feeling?
Well, so you think that the different presentation will make up for the fact that there's no people really around in the event?
Well, I think it's just something. It's just something to be excited about, kind of. It's an event, so that's how I'm feeling. Like, just focus on, yay, it's the Grammys. Yeah. Let's watch them and watch some performances by some cool artists and stuff. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of excited about it. You got to just take everything you can get. You got to dig for gold in these times. As my mom always said, dig for gold. So also.
Make lemonade.
No, gold, not lemonade. Okay, yeah, make lemonade from lemons. Okay, also Lou Ottens, the inventor of the cassette tape, he passed away today at 94. And more than 100 billion cassettes have been sold since its launch in 1963.
Wow.
So, oh my God. So Johnny is like the king of the
cassettes.
mixtapes.
Well, we were talking with Dave just before we came on too about this. And mixtape, man, that would be like,
it's the best.
It was the best thing. Making a mixtape was the best thing. And then, of course, your band would be sold on cassettes. It goes to show you a couple of things, anyway. And then you'd always make your band demos on cassettes, and you do your own artwork.
You could draw little pictures and stuff. It was always just so exciting getting your mixtapes, I'll tell you, because you put a lot of effort.
And in your car too, you could take cassettes. You could do, it was great. And then 20 years later, he was part of the team that invented the CD.
I know, that's amazing.
That's just a weird story.
I know. So rest in peace. Rest in peace, Lou. So tonight on our show, we have 2 guests, as we usually do. Later on the show, we have someone who has been nominated for 7 Saskatchewan Country Music Awards this year. We actually did a songwriters circle with him at Village Guitars.
Yeah, Dave Marcoux put that on.
That's right. And Village Guitars is closed now, which is sad. Yeah. Anyway, we saw him that night, and we loved him. He blew us away. So we're really excited to have him on later tonight.
It's no surprise he's nominated for 7 awards.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah. So that'll be later, but right now, we're super excited. Our first guest is, and we actually have a photo, I think, if Ian can put it up. First guest tonight is a Hamiltonian, a New Yorker, and a Canadian musician that has probably done more gigs than, well, anyone we know of or can think of. His body of work is astounding and diverse. He's performed at the Cavern Club in Liverpool. I can only imagine he's played all the legendary rooms.
He's probably played every place.
Yeah,
eh?
yeah, for sure. There's so much to talk about.
The whiskey. He's been there.
He was in the first Western band signed directly to Russia's Melodia Records. He keeps up a frantic pace and shows no signs of slowing down. If you're a fan of rock and roll, you've probably crossed paths somewhere, maybe on a car radio or on your turntable, but more than likely on a stage somewhere. And I want to say, I know this is a long intro, but there's so much to say. Here's what he had to say about playing at the Cavern Club in Liverpool. There's something beautiful when you look at your mates in such a historic place with people from your hometown. We are people who love to inspire other musicians in our hometown. Don't be afraid to dare to dream. It's powerful. I'm always introduced as a Hamilton musician, and that's important. So let's get this going. Hamilton musician, the legendary Dave Rave.
Woo-hoo! Hey,
woo.
I got my cassette here, Teenage Head, electric guitar.
Right
Still
on.
for sale. Open for offer tonight. No, no, it's mine. Shai, thank you so much. What you said, fantastic. I can't believe I said that. Wow. I must have been a rare moment. They caught me off guard.
Right. So how are things in?
A moment of inspiration. Woo!
So
so good to be here. We made it finally, eh?
Yeah, we got on. So last week there was a bit of a snafu, but we got through.
Yeah, my phone was behaving when I bought my phone in 1998, so so it needs some update.
Vintage.
Right. So what's going on in the Hammer?
Pardon me?
What's going on in the Hammer?
You know what? Hammer's doing good during this whole lockdown. You know, we Glenn Marshall from Altogether Morris, he has a little studio which we've been able to goof off in and keep ourselves occupied. But Hamilton's it's a great city because it's big and little at the same time. And after being in New York for like 30 years, it's so nice to be able to park a car where you don't have to think about where you're parking it. Like, you don't have to do the Seinfeld fight for a parking spot. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. Yeah. It's a great city and a lot of music here. We got the Trues here now, and a bunch of different people have all moved here, and it's been great.
So historically, though, what are some of the through the ages, through the rock era, who are some of the big Hamilton bands that? Well,
Hamilton, believe it or not, if you want to go really far back, you had the 50s, you had the Ronnie Hawkins and the band, were playing here. Conway Twitty had a residency here. He wrote that famous song, People Baby Everywhere. It's Only Make Believe. He wrote it here in a bar. So you got the 50s, and in the 60s you have Crowbar and acts like that. Lighthouse, Skip Prokop, who went off and played the Poppers and actually played the Monterey Pop Festival as the Poppers. And then as we were growing up, we were watching a lot of, like, Hamilton had a great bar scene. So we were watching a lot of the local bands that were playing around here, and which also inspired, I guess, Teenage Head, the Shakers, and the different bands that came after that, the Forgotten Rebels. So Hamilton had a great history for us to lean on. Blues, rockabilly. We also had that British influence too. A lot of people coming here from Scotland and England, and it was a good combination of lots of good music.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's Skydiggers were from Hamilton too, right?
What's that now?
Skydiggers, a Hamilton band?
Sky, I think they were. I think they were Guelph, weren't they? Sky Diggers.
Well,
Sorry, I never mentioned Tom Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Junk House.
Florida
Junk
Rave
House.
Of course,
and
Junk House. Yeah.
How can we forget Tommy, right?
No
Yeah,
kidding.
exactly, right?
Yeah.
And then you got your
legendary
Billy
himself.
Majoris
Then you
there,
got
too.
Billy Majoris, yeah, in foreign films.
Oh, Bill, of course, foreign films. I can't forget Bill. I talked to him today when he said to say hello to you.
Right on, right on.
Awesome.
So you grew up in Hamilton, right? That's your hometown?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Hamilton was the West End of Hamilton was our Westdale High School was sort of like the nexus for the Hamilton scene that came out. Mickey DeSatis, Frankie Venom, Gordy, Rick Andrew from the Shakers, and my cousin Claude DeRoche, Nikki Stepan and Steve Mann. We were all going to school at the same time. We all actually, before that, were playing baseball. Gotta remember that. We all played the local park. And so when we realized we couldn't make it a living in playing baseball, we all went to music.
Yeah.
So, but we all met in Westdale High School.
That's cool. So back in the day, did Toronto seem like a faraway place to Hamilton as compared to now, or it's just like you got?
Well, Toronto was like your sort of your dream, right? Like, because that's where the Maple Leaf Gardens were, and that's where like it was really interesting. A couple of years back, Paul McCartney played in Hamilton, and I went strictly because you didn't think a Beatle would ever play in Hamilton, or a Rolling Stone or anybody important, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, or on that level, right? But since then, we have had him in. But I remember him coming in. He came out of his bus out on the streets. And I went, oh my God, that's where I bought my first guitar, just around the corner. And you dreamt about those kind of people, like when you're like 12 years old and 13. Wow, you know, and there he was. So it was a great moment for me to have somebody like him in our city, going down the street that I never thought he'd go down. You know what I mean? It was amazing. You know, that happened in Toronto. So that's my point of that story, is that would happen in Toronto. You would expect, you know, stars like that. And I guess when Danny Lanois started getting going in Hamilton, I think we had Brian Eno come in. So he was sort of like a legend in Hamilton, you know, but still he wasn't like that kind of legend. He was a backrooms legend, you know?
Yeah.
So Hamilton had a great little, Toronto was the place you went to when you wanted to dream, and you know, like the El Macombo and places like that, you know. So it made us, in a way, Hamilton sort of like unified, like it gave us our own sound, because we knew we had to do it ourselves. We were, you know, the Toronto was like this big melting pot. It was our enemy and our welcoming. Like Toronto, like, wow, you're gonna live in Toronto? Oh, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and for us, being out of Toronto, we had at one point half our band was from Hamilton. So
right, yeah, you had good taste.
Yeah. And that was,
or maybe you made a mistake.
no, it was awesome. That was awesome. That was an awesome time in our career.
I loved your band when we had the Hamilton guys. I remember that.
Yeah, Laura and Billy, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So
well, you know, I have to be honest with you, but Leslie, you both these guys, you have the same sensibility as the Hamilton musicians. Like you guys, like Hamilton was always a songwriting town. It wasn't about, like, Gordy Lewis, he was a great guitar player, and these guys were great guitar players. It was about the song. Like, it wasn't like we weren't into the Johnny Winter school, that kind of school of guitar playing. Like, it was more always tight rock and roll, and you guys came from the same school.
Yeah.
So it made sense that we would play with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Because your songs they're Hamilton kind of songs. They're catchy, melodic. Like, that's why I was drawn to them, because they always catch your ear. You weren't, you know, they didn't, you know, they weren't pretentious. Hamilton there was no room for pretension in Hamilton. You couldn't.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's just something real authentic and real, and just, we always loved Hamilton.
Hamilton was always really good to us. And there's this one distinction about Hamilton. Is it you Hamiltonians, you go to Hortons. You go to Hortons, right? It's I think the rest of the country calls it Tim's, but in Hamilton it's Hortons.
Oh yeah, Hortons, man. You're gonna go for
that's what I love. There's a couple of things about Hamilton that you guys have your own language almost. What's the other thing?
Round.
Round.
rounders.
What's like when someone's round?
Oh, that's so round.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, no,
gosh.
it's funny. I would come from New York, and I'd come home and I'd go, even though we were called the ambitious city, there was still something else about it. Like it did speak to its own language. I have to agree. I always felt home, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so the Shakers, that's your sort of first sort of recording act that put out any sort of product?
Yeah, like because what happened in the beginning, me and Frankie Venom, who was Frankie Kerr then, Frank played drums and I sang, but Frank sang too. And Frank asked me if I wanted to play with him. And actually, it's funny because one half of the Shakers sort of started with Frank in a funny way, my buddy Ricky, and it was Rick that sort of said to me, taught me how to do a harmony note. Like I didn't understand what that meant, right? So he said, you hit this note, I'll hit that note, and together, you know, something will happen. And I went, okay, cool. So we did that, and I learned harmonies, and then he said to me, hey, we should write songs too. And so eventually me and Rick sort of paired off and started doing songwriting. And in the early 70s, there was a lot of negativity towards that. Even though Badfinger was a popular band, that kind of music, the big star music that wasn't in fashion. It was, you know, stuff like the Doobie Brothers. Well, we all know, right? All our fans, but there wasn't that kind of music. Those short, little, tight pop songs, and we were doing that. So we couldn't really play the bar, so we started doing the coffee houses, and that was the best way to bring our compositions to. And then eventually. Playing bars, but not like rock bars, but old man bars, like they used to have in those days, like pub kind of bars. So we were doing those kind of places. We'd go like to Palmerston for a week and play a place where they really wanted to hear different music, but we would sneak in all our tunes, all our originals, and then of course never get invited back. But that was okay.
So
we practiced our songs. That's how the Shakers derived from me and Rick. And then meantime, Frank eventually hooked up with Steve and Gord and was drums with them. And I used to go in, and because I knew how to sing, they would have different guest singers. They would be singing as time went along. And eventually Frank switched to drums to singing, and then Nick went to drums. Nick's a pianist, joined the band. So whenever there was harmonies, because I learned from Rick on harmony, I would end up doing the vocals with Frank and doing harmony. That's why I ended up playing doing a lot of stuff with Teenage Head, like harmonies and being in the studio with them. So I was like doing both, playing in both situations, which was a lot of fun for me. Great experience.
Right. Okay. So and that so Grant Avenue Studios, is that what I read on the record? Is that where that was recorded?
Yes, because what happened with Grant Avenue was doing all the folk rock acts, like guys like Willie P. Bennett and Garnet Rogers, and that was that style. So it was original music, but and I knew a lot of those acts from the coffee house acts. So when it came to a place to record, because I knew a lot of those coffee house guys worked there, we went down and met Dan, and we did I said to Dan, can we do a song in a weekend? And he was quite relieved that we want to do a whole song, A and B side, in 3 days. Because that was at that time, you spent a lot of time. It was the days of the Eagles would take 3 weeks to get a drum sound. You know?
Yeah, right.
You'd be like, okay, drum sounds great, let's go, you know. We were really influenced by Nick Lowe. I think that was Nick and Dave Edmonds were just so inspiring to us in the way Nick's philosophy, you know, piece of fluff and all that stuff. Like, you know, it won't matter because if you get a piece of fluff on your record, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, all my high production goes out the window. So we like production, and we like what Danny did, but our main goal was keep it urgent, you know, and Nick, and of course all the other stuff that was coming out, the Paul Collins band and the Flamin' Groovies and all the great rock and roll that was coming out. Blondie, it seemed like every week an amazing band. The Pretenders, fantastic music every week. So inspiring. Cheap Trick. How could you not want to join? Right?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Right.
No kidding.
It was amazing.
So how long? What happened?
Every one of them.
Cool, man. So that ran its course. You guys just sort of didn't do anything after that. Is it? So
Well, what
how long
happened
did
with
that go for?
with the
Because
Shakers is we stuck around for 3 years from '79. Teenage Head was so generous with us. We got to do so many shows with them, supporting them, and we did. We played almost like right up to the tour when Gord unfortunately got his accident. We played all the shows, arenas. What a way to start your band off, playing really cool shows everywhere, all across Ontario, and it made us really, it just broadened your point of view of what could be achieved. It was amazing. So the Shakers lasted really until I call it the new wave movement ended, and then the next thing came in, which was the Duran sound, and we didn't really fit in with that sound. And even in England was ending. Rockpile broke up. The Stray Cats were going to have a hit, but we were part of that too. We enjoyed the rockabilly. So the band just sort of fell apart, like stopped naturally. It ended up between 82 and 83. And then Teenage Head was still going strong. So Gord would invite me to play rhythm guitar invite me to shows. So between 83 and 84, 82, 83, like I was playing with Teenage Head too, doing sort of dual roles, playing rhythm guitar, singing vocals, and I actually joined the Teenage Head full time in between 83 and 84.
Yeah,
and that lasted till
and
89.
then,
Till 89. Then I went to New York.
And that's when you got the Melodia record deal?
Yeah, what happened is that there's a guy named Gary Pigold, great Canadian raconteur, magazine writer, still online now, amazing historian of all music, had the coolest paper called the Pig Paper during the punk days in Toronto. And I met him, and we both, he had just left. He was playing in this sort of Beach Boy style band. I just left Teenage Head, and we both went to New York, and this great opportunity to get a place came available. So me and him just, because he had a lot of the similar tastes, me and him just started recording together. We made this album called Valentino's Pirates. He produced it and took the songs that I'd written, and it was really a great experience. We did that song "Way of the World," and really amazing. And then we were playing a show in New York, and the guy from Russia came up to us and said, "We like your sound. You got a folk rock," which I hadn't heard for a long time. He goes, "Would you like to be on Melodia Records?" We said, "Sure." and why not, right? So we did this tape. We sent the record over. We called ourselves the Dave Rave Conspiracy, and it came back as Dave Rave Group. And I went, "That's not our name." He goes, "It is now. No conspiracy." You're now Dave Rave Group. Russia, no conspiracy.
Yeah, no.
That sort of goes in what's going on today, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
So in New York, then you work on that record, and then you go to do your second record, and you get Billy Thicka in the band, and Shivers.
Yeah, Lauren Agnelli from Washington Squares. It was like, we were in Wonderland, like we were meeting all our heroes that we had loved, Billy Thicka. We met with Lauren Agnelli because we saw the Squares play. Coyote Shivers was a guitar player from Toronto that came. We met him in Toronto, and he came to New York, and he was this crazy guy with a really cool haircut. And we thought, well, you've got to get a guy like that in the band. And
of course.
And I always loved television, but we could never figure out how to play that kind of music. It was really hard to cover. Right? And so it wasn't like the Ramones. So getting Bill was just a great experience in going into that world of the way television thought. And I got to meet all those guys like Richard Lloyd and Tom Verlaine and Fred Smith, and that was really cool experience of getting his point of view. Like, he was this wild genius drummer. He didn't think the way I'd ever worked with anybody in my life. We would play, and every night we'd play with a different tempo. And I thought that was, at first it puzzled me, because I went, "Bill, we didn't rehearse it that way." He goes, "Well, so." We're playing it like this now. You know? Okay.
Surprise.
That's the way it is. That's the way it is. You know, like it loosened me up, to be honest with you, because I was so rigid. You know, you got to play the song this way, right? You know, and he would end it when he was going to end it, and that screwed me up at first too. But I'm really grateful for that lesson, because from then on,
keep you on your toes.
Yeah, because he, you know what? He taught me to be, not to be afraid. Don't ever be afraid. Play to the guys who are listening around you and what you're feeling at that moment, not what you're supposed to feel, but what you're really feeling. And wow, what a great experience that was. It made me fearless, you know.
Yeah.
So you did three Dave Rave group conspiracy albums.
Yeah, we did a conspiracy album. Yeah, and we did that with the full group, and then that lasted, and we had a great time with that band. And considering that we had a 3-guitar sort of Flaming Groovies kind of band in New York, when everybody was sort of more doing the Sonic Youth thing. I remember one band came up to me after we played our show, and he goes, "These guys aren't bad for guys that play melody." And I went, "Oh, I understand where we are now." Yeah. we were sort of we were sort of like this unique band in the middle of this New York, you know, Sonic Youth, a lot of like avant-garde kind of music that was going on. But it was fun to be in it because it challenged you. It wasn't now your own home ground. You had to incorporate that music into your music. So that was good for me. I love challenges. You know?
Yeah, well, if you follow your career, you can see these challenges that come up. And they're
sometimes I wish I didn't challenge myself so much, though.
Right. So
you get a little mentally challenged after a while.
Then you do your next 3 albums are Agnelli and Rave, right?
That's right. Well, what happened sort of happened with Rick. We did a reverse. Like Coyote started a solo career because he'd married Liv Tyler and was married to B.B. Buell. And then Gary got involved in a band that was sort of like around the same time when Wilco was happening. He got involved in that new country music that was going on. And so it just ended up being me, Lorne, and Billy. And it was easier at that time in New York to do a place called the Sidewalk Cafe, which was a fantastic place on Avenue A. And we found a little home there, and it was like they embraced power pop, anti-folk, all of the music that we liked, but we laid it but with a quieter groove. So we had Billy sort of playing percussion, and Laura and I would be doing the duo. So that was a really fun band. That was a great little area. And New York really, at that point, between 94 till 9/11, was just really open because I hate to say Giuliani now that he's turning so wacky, but like the whole New York just opened up. The crime, like you felt safe again. There was a great community. You guys played it then, right?
Well, we met you down when you were, we met you in New York when we played a show. I remember you came out and
where was that again?
Well, we played Brownies and we played the Mercury.
We
played CB's one time.
Yeah, so. That's right. Yeah,
Mercury. But yeah, that was just so awesome seeing you down there. You were just so awesome to us and just so supportive and you know, I remember you just saying, because I was just like, oh my gosh, I was nervous too before we were doing the show, and you were like, Leslie, there's just love in the air. There's just love in the air. There's love in this room. There's love in this room. I was just like, okay. And I was feeling it. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And, you know, I had that advantage because we had an agent that used to always invite us down to watch all the showcase shows. Like when the first time, I got to see Oasis and, you know, Bare Naked Ladies and all these bands. And I saw how all these guys who you'd heard of were nervous. You know, like, oh, they're nervous too. Oh yeah, New York makes everybody nervous. And I remember Tom Harrison from Vancouver Province, and he played drums with me and Ralph. And I remember we were playing CBGBs, and I remember Billy Ficca played before him. And I guess, Tom was such an idol. He idolized Bill. I remember he just looked at his drum for about 5 minutes, and Ralph's going, "You got to play, Bill. You got to play, Tom. You got to play." I'm going, "Tom, play, Tom." Yeah, he's in CBGB's with Bill Ficca. It's fantastic. What a great feeling that is, isn't it? The love was there, and you guys played.
Cool.
Beautiful.
So
But
right
yeah,
there,
New
we
York
just talked.
up to 9/11 was a fantastic city. It was like it was not scary. It was though I liked the old scary New York too, but it was
Yeah.
a really beautiful city. It was people were freeing. You could go on subways, and I call it like it's like when I watch say Seinfeld now, right? It was a Seinfeld when you watch that.
Right.
It was like that era of New York, like everybody was gray,
laid back. It was kind of laid back.
Still, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
And then after 9/11, it changed, and Bloomberg really even cleaned the city up further, but he also made it a rich man's city, and which is great for tourists, but I call it the Kramers of the world. Where do they go? I met so many cool people that couldn't stay there anymore. I guess that's what Anthony Bourdain was talking about, right? When he did one of his, went back to New York, and
artists can't afford those high rents, so the artists get kicked out for sure.
And now, so it means that now cities like Hamilton and where you guys are in Saskatoon and Minneapolis, these are now the cities where music live, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally. There's a great scenes in those cities.
So Dave, I just want to point something out here that we just talked about your first 7 records, which are not available on any streaming platform, right?
Yeah, we have to get that going, don't we?
Yeah, and there's I don't know which other ones are, but that's just the Agnelli Rave, the Conspiracy, and the Rave Group, and the Shakers.
Yeah, we need to get there. That's you're absolutely right. We got to get that going. I got now the last part, but I need to get that part going. Yeah. The Shakers, we got to get that up because it's great stuff. The Shakers, it's so that's a mission that I have to take care of.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, so just
Teenage Head's now up online, which is great. Warner's has put everything up on at least you can't get the vinyl and the CD yet. You can still go and at least stream it.
Yeah.
And Teenage Head just got reissued. Frantic City got reissued from Europe, or something like that, and I just picked it up on in import. So I would love to see that back in print too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So let's skip to your sort of what I call your jazz era.
Yeah, so me and Mark McCarran, yeah.
Yeah, and what about Lee Aaron? What was that?
Yeah, well, that was all part of it because what happened was that when I did my jazz records, we went and visited the people who put out Lee Aaron, and we realized, that there was, I had no market for a jazz record. So thankfully for Ralph Alfonso, who had his bongo beat record, I said, why don't since you got your bongo beat label, why don't we all get together and tour together? So he said, okay, yeah, I'll put your records out. I'll distribute them. And so Ralph did the 2 of the bongo beat records. And we on This Side of Love. And he set up a tour because he had set up Lee Aaron's deal in Montreal, and let's tour together. So that was really fun with Karen, and that was a really, really great period. We did a lot of fun. We went across Canada touring that, and I think we went to the States with that. I can't remember. I'm sure we did.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Again, it's we've been listening to it and really getting a kick out of it, loving it a lot. So
yeah.
Are you doing any more with that?
I got to tell you one little story about Mark McCarran, just so you understand his talent, and you appreciate this. When I met Mark, he was playing with a guy who did a transvestite that did Joni Mitchell, and so he would sing, and was amazing. And Mark played all the guitar that Joni had done on one guitar, and he was so amazing. He blew me away because, you know, it's Joni stuff, right? And then next week, Joni saw, his name was John Kelly, saw Mark play. And actually, the set that I saw her play with Bob Dylan the year later was pretty well a set that Mark McCarran played. Because so that was Mark McCarran. He's a Canadian guitar player from New Brunswick, St. John's, moved to New York. He taught in Toronto, Hamilton area, moved to New York just about a year before I did, and is still one of the most underrated guitar player musicians I've ever met. And he's wonderful, you know. So that's, I just wanted to give you that one little story about him that goes, yeah, how powerful is he? He changed Joni Mitchell. That's a lot of mine.
Yeah. That's
You know,
awesome.
like,
I mean,
wow, maybe I can go out and do this stuff, you know?
Yeah. Is there any plans for you guys to do anything again?
I would love to. You know, right now he's out in Long Island and we really can't connect. But we talk on the phone, and we did do a fun little thing online. We did Beware of Darkness, George Harrison's tune. And he put all the tracks together and I sang it. And it's online, you know, if you look it up. It's a nice little tune. He did a nice version of it. It's very sympathetic, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so since 2012, you've put out 6 albums with your band from Minneapolis.
Oh, the Governors. Those guys.
Oh, excellent. So how did you end up fronting a band from Minneapolis?
Well, it goes back to Mark McCarran. Mark had this. He invited me on this show in New York City at this club, this sort of crazy club in the east, out down in the place where John Zorn used to play, and Tom Cook, the drummer, was playing in a Minnesota band that night, and he saw me give a drum solo to our drummer on Let's Shake, and he goes, "Hey man, you gave a drummer a drum solo. I'll play with you anytime." He goes, "Matter of fact, I'm from Minneapolis. You're my, you know," and he invited me. It reminded me so much being in Minneapolis, like being in Hamilton, which I sort of missed. Everybody hung out, so he invited me with all the Minnesota boys and ladies, and we hung out, had a great night. And he said to me, and you know this about drummers, right? He said, "Dave, if you ever want to play in Minnesota, I'll play. I'll put the shows together, and you can play with me." And he gave me his number, and I knew he's a drummer. He's honest, right? Yeah. So I called him, and it wasn't hogwash. He set me up some shows, and it began that way. And I got to know gratefully the whole amazing Minnesota music scene, which in Minneapolis, because it's incredible scene, and it reminds me a lot like Canada. It's very locally orientated, but with people who are also successful on the larger level, but it's respect on each level. So I love it there. And I've been going up to work with Rich Mattson, who has a group called the North Stars, one of Minnesota's top leading lights. He has a studio. If you ever want to go somewhere cool, Sparta Sound, about 10 minutes from where Bob Dylan grew up in Hibbing. And we've had just great time. Amazing group, bunch of guys. They're like my brothers now. You know, I miss them so much.
Yeah. Well, they're great records to listen to. So
they are.
Okay, but we got to talk to what's kind of near and dear to a lot of Canadians here. Their heart is Teenage Head, and Les and I just watched the TVO documentary. I don't know, a couple months ago, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah.
And it, it's quite a tale. There's things that I did not know that, the trouble and strife that they had to go through and endure. So
yeah,
you seem
it's
to
amazing
be
story. Each Head, I'm so proud to be part of it. And when it's a family story, really, because Gordy and I know each other since grade 1. We were altar boys together. You know what I mean? That's how far. And Steve and I played baseball together. And Frank, I've known him since grade 9. Me and him sort of like this whole Hamilton little thing together. So I and Nick, we all grew up, and they support the Shakers. If you look on the back of Frantic City, the Shakers there. So when the call came, and we also had Jack Pedler, another one. But when the call came to rejoin the boys, it just seemed so natural. And it was the right time in my life to to come back to home, to come back home, and to be with Gordy and Nick and Steve again. And adding Gene Champagne, as you know, from the Killjoys, was just like, it was Gene. It's really actually Gene's the one that's brought us together tight, because he loves the band as a friend and a fan, and he's the one that says, we got to do it right. He helps us. He's like our he's like our daddy now. Was that sign? Child is father to the man. He makes sure that he's he said, okay guys, these are the songs we're going to do them like this. Let's keep it the Ramones style, the way that the Teenage Head was back in '79, and so as a result, it's got the same quality and the same. It comes from the same place as the original band, and I think you can see that in the film, that the love is there. We're all together.
Oh,
yeah. You can see for sure. You guys are a unit.
Everybody's doing good though now.
Pardon me.
Everybody's doing good. Is Gordy doing good now?
We want to do another record. We did some recording, and that was, and then COVID has sort of pulled us apart right now. But I think once this is over and we can all get back together, we will do. Yeah, I feel good about it.
I saw Teenage Head out here several times in over the years. Centennial Auditorium basement. I saw him in Regina one time because I went down there with the Idols as they were the opening act.
Oh, the Idols, right?
For Teenage Head, and that was a pretty neat experience for a young guy to see that. And we were standing by the one door, and they were getting ready to go on stage, and all of a sudden we heard these just sort of chains coming down the hallway. Door swings open, and there's Teenage Head with Strawberry Angel, 2 fists and bottles of Strawberry Angel wine. Yeah.
It was an amazing band, and is an amazing band. The fact that it's still together, and it's gone through every situation that you can throw somebody. Death. It's got the whole, death, heartbreak, but also victory and excitement beyond belief. And some of my most exciting moments actually go back about Saskatoon. And when I used to always feel Saskatoon, Regina, and Edmonton were my 3 favorite places in the world to play, for all different reasons. For shows, Regina and Saskatoon. Edmonton, because we got our own rooms. That was like when you're on the road, got our own room, hotel time, turn the water on, run around the room 500 times. Whoa!
Okay.
For shows, Saskatoon could play in the Centennial Hall. I never saw that's when I really felt the best Teenage Head fans, besides maybe the Hamilton, Toronto area, were really in Regina and Saskatoon, and of course Edmonton too, and Calgary. But that's when I really felt like I was on tour. We were away from home, and it was just so much fun.
Yeah. So quickly, through the pandemic, I guess you have put together another project, and you've recorded a new album with Dave, Rave, and the Second Responders. Yeah. So just quickly give us a little bit of story about that, and when can we expect to hear the full record?
Yeah, well, it was just really simple. We were all sitting around doing nothing, and I was at my cousin's place, who was a drummer from the Shakers, Claude. It was my first time let out of a jail, I call it, right? We're sitting around having a coffee, shooting the shit. And then a friend of mine, Mark Foley, who had actually toured with me in England and around Ontario, he was working with Glenn at this little studio in East End of Hamilton, which is this big, which if you ever come to town, you should play there. It's a great place that they do films. It's a whole, Tom Wilson does paintings there, and amazing place to do a concert. Trues have done shows, Black and Rodeo Kings. So it was all now abandoned. There was nothing there. Nothing's going on. So he invited me over, and then I thought that maybe just a jam, because we were allowed, it was socially distanced. It's a big enough little warehouse. So I thought, well, we got to get some bass. And I know that right now Jack Siprick is doing nothing, because he's like the Trues aren't on the road. So I called him up and he said, yeah, Dave, man, I need to play. So all four of us just got together, and I had a few songs in my back pocket that I'd written that I went, oh, these might really suit. They were sort of raw rock and roll, fun tunes, very rhythmic tunes, like Iggy and Iggy meets hip hop, like early, like Run DMC kind of stuff. And these guys were perfect for it. It was just amazing. Yeah. It kept us sane. It was really for sanity. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super looking forward to it. I hope you get the remainder of your catalog up on streaming for everybody to share, because we've curated a Dave Rave playlist. It's on the Green Room on the Green Room on Spotify. There's a Dave Rave playlist there, so any Dave Rave fans.
Oh my gosh, you got to check. You have to listen. Dave, your songs, and it's just they're amazing. So
you sir are a delight.
You are.
Oh, it's a treat to be here.
Hopefully everyone can check it out. Yeah.
And you just keep it coming, man. It's all excellent. Just
We're loving it. Yeah.
But
what an honor
we love
to
your
be
music.
here.
We love you.
Oh, well, cool. But I think we got to go.
I really miss you guys. I wish you were still in Toronto. I could come and see you right now.
I know.
Eventually, we'll all see each other, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You bet.
Absolutely.
Okay, buddy. We're gonna move on. We're gonna talk to JJ Voss coming up here.
Yeah.
Oops, I gave it away.
Thanks so much, Dave, for coming on. Thank you. It's just been so great to see you and chat with you. And yeah. It's
awesome hearing these stories. I know we got
talking to you soon.
We got more for sure. We could share some more time together.
Yeah, for sure.
It's too many stories.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool, man.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. That was awesome. He's so talented, right?
Oh my gosh.
He's a Canadian legend, and there's got to be some sort of national Dave Rave statue put up.
I know, no kidding. I know. He's amazing. So we're just going to take a quick little break before we bring our next guest on. We have we're going to give a shout out to a sponsor, and a sponsor, yay. Okay, we've got our sponsor is Field Fox Gardens and Cookery, and they're a food preparation and delivery service in Saskatoon. They are 100% gluten-free and organic, and only use quality ingredients found close to home. We know that we've had food from Field Fox Gardens and Cookery, amazing. So Field Fox has just launched the pre-selling of lasagna in your choice of 2 sizes. They are proud to partner with Farm 140 to provide grass-fed beef in this carefully prepared classic meal that is delivered frozen for your convenience. In the coming days and weeks, the menu will grow to include fresh salads, condiments, spice blends, and more frozen prepared meals to suit every lifestyle. The products are soon to be featured at Sask Made Marketplace, which only sells the best local goods. So please visit fieldfox.ca to order your lasagna. This is going to be great. It's going to give you a night off cooking. You're going to have organic, gluten-free food. It's amazing, so flavorful. And also sign up for the newsletter to be notified as the menu expands.
Yeah, please sign up.
Yeah, fieldfox.ca.
It's a local business, and they certainly could
support local.
Let you know when something new is coming out, or like she said, the menu's being changed.
Lasagna is awesome. Okay, so now we're going to bring out our next guest. Our next guest has over 2 decades of dedication to his music career. Raised on a small farm in southern Saskatchewan, he began his journey in music at the age of 8 when he picked up his dad's old flat top, and has been following in the footsteps of legendary troubadours like Steve Earle, Charlie Major, Tom Petty, and Bruce Springsteen ever since. From playing weekend gigs with his high school band to gigging 6 nights a week in nightclubs, to festivals and soft cedars, he has become known for his ability to fuse the classic sounds of country into a piece of work that's perfectly suited for our modern times. In the upcoming Saskatchewan Country Music Awards, he has 7 nominations, as I mentioned before. Fans' Choice of the Year, Roots Album of the Year, Come Along With Me, Video of the Year, Come Along With Me, and Farmer Song, Songwriter of the Year for some people, and Interactive Artist of the Year, and Guitar Player of the Year. Oh my gosh. Please welcome to the green room, JJ Voss.
Well, hey guys, it's great to be
JJ.
here with you. How are you?
Hey, JJ.
JJ.
Sorry to keep waiting, buddy. It's good to see you.
Can you hear me?
So good.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Can you hear
It's
us?
great to be here with you.
Hello.
Yeah, it's so good to see you, JJ.
Yeah. All right. So we were talking earlier about how I think our first introduction to you was when we did the songwriter circle at Village Guitars that Dave Marcoux put on, and you came up and did it, and we heard you play, and we're like, oh my God, that guy can play and
Play and
sing,
sing,
like,
and
wow.
just instantly we were blown away. So yeah, it was awesome.
Southern Saskatchewan. You grew up on a farm. Whereabouts?
About an hour north of Regina. The name of the town is Cupar. It's the little town that I'm from.
Cupar.
Yeah.
Right on.
And I started taking guitar lessons in the city. I think I was about 11 years old. So we would drive in once every 2 weeks, and that's kind of where it all started.
Right on. And then you had high school bands, and like your bio says, you started playing high school bands, and then out of high school you started playing the clubs weeks at a time and stuff like that.
Much to the dismay of my teachers, on the weekends I would be off playing small town bars when I was in high school, and Monday morning I was pretty much useless at school, and the teachers pretty much knew, and they gave up. They left me alone on Mondays.
Yeah.
How did you play the bars when you're in high school? Hey, like, how does that work? I know we
very carefully.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So is that when you found your voice? Because when I listen to your music, your voice is one of the things that is just like it's killer, and it's your gift, right? So is that something that you were just like, you just started singing and that was it, or is it something that you sort of developed over time?
For one, that's very kind of you. Thank you. But no, throughout my teens and all through my 20s and into my early 30s, I was focused on being a lead guitar player. I was never, ever the lead singer in any band that I was in. And, for one reason or another, the thought of standing out more than I already did in where I come from scared the heck out of me. So I was just comfortable being over on the side of the stage and being a guitar player. But from the time I was, very young, my ultimate dream was to be, that singer-songwriter, to be the storyteller, to be the guy in the middle of the stage. So it wasn't until I was into my 30s that I finally got, serious and got honest with myself and decided what I really wanted to do.
So you knew you had to kind of push yourself out of your comfort zone at some point, probably, from being just the guitar player to going, okay, I've got to get out there and, basically, shine.
Well, I wasn't I was a good guitar player. I was a pretty good guitar player, but I had to work at it very hard. There was other guys that I know, people that I grew up with, that I was working amongst, who were just virtuosos. It came very easy to them. And when the 6-night bar work went away and it became playing one-off gigs with different artists, so you'd have to learn 40 to 50 songs to go play with that artist, it absolutely took the fun out of it for me, because I wasn't good enough. I had to woodshed for many hours in order to play well enough to get paid for it. So once that happened, it took the fun out of playing music for me, and that was, like I said, I had to get serious and get honest with myself and decide, why did I really want to do this in the first place? And the answer was to write songs and tell stories.
Right. So previous to this, we were having a drink in a bar one night, I think. And did you tell me you played with the Grambo brothers at some point?
Yeah, I played guitar first for Curtis, I believe, and then Marty, and then the two of them together. You know how that goes. So yeah, I knocked around with them for a few years, and those are still two of the funniest people on this planet that I've ever met.
Yeah. So you got your badge, you got your road legs. You've been out there
I think
swinging.
so.
Yeah. So you realize that you're going to do the singer-songwriter thing, and in 2008, you put out Hillbilly Storybook, which, by the way, kicks butt. Gotta tell you. One thing about doing the show is we've been invested in listening to the artist's music the whole week coming up to it, and there's also a JJ Voss playlist on the Green Room on Spotify, so you might want to check that out. Any JJ Voss fans out there? The Green Room YXE on Spotify. There's a JJ Voss playlist. Anyhow, so you did that record, and people start to notice you. You win Producer of the Year. Is that an SCMA award, or was that Western Canadian Music Awards?
Yeah, I was actually nominated. I didn't win that one. I got nominated for the Western Canadian Music Awards, and that album was purely an experiment. I went from I bought a computer in I think right around the year 2000, and I knew that I'd worked in audio for many years, and I knew if I wanted to do this, I wouldn't be able to afford it. So, like everything else, I dove in and I tried to teach myself. And over the course of 6 or 7 years, I learned how to turn the computer on, to learning how to get into Pro Tools, and then and just learning the art of recording. And it was a lot of experiment. It was many, many hours, and little by little, I kind of put together this EP of 6 songs. And so it was basically kind of my resume, or it was kind of my way of proving to myself that I could actually be a recording artist.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing, because that's really the way to go. But a lot of artists don't do that or even know how to do that, and it's very intimidating, right? So
well, I have to. I can't take all the credit for it. At the time, Kevin Churko was around town. He was back in Regina, and Johnny Gasparic was working at Touchwood Studio. And I'm pretty sure it annoyed the hell out of them, but I became a fly on the wall, and I just hung out at the studio and sat in the background, and I soaked up as much as I can. And that's kind of how I got my feet wet, and that's where I started to learn how to do things. So I didn't learn it all on my own, for sure.
Yeah. Well,
we never do.
You never do.
We never do. We need help along the way.
But we had our friend on here, Winnipeg producer, engineer, mixer, all around good guy. He says that if you don't know how to record yourself in today's era, you're not really in the game. So any of you young artists out there that may be happening to be listening to us right now, I mean, take the time and get to know a DAW.
Well, just to be inspired by artists like JJ, where it's just like you just kind of get started, or like you find someone that knows more than you, and they can help you along, right?
Yeah. So that was nominated. That one. Go ahead. Sorry, you gonna say something, JJ?
Oh, nothing. No, that was nominated for producer award. So that basically validated that I could put out professional quality music, or that there was an appetite for what I was doing. So that's kind of where that was.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, did it win the award for Roots Album of the Year? Is that?
No, not that.
Yes. No.
I didn't. That was my second album. That was Show 'Em Who's Voss from 2012.
Love that title, by the way.
Yeah, I love that too. That's so awesome.
Show 'Em Who's Voss. Now, is this some? You were in Nashville. Is that where you did this work with Harry Stinson, or how did this come to be? Because I read an article. About you, and it was a Nashville Music Magazine article. And you worked with Harry Stinson from Steve Earle's band.
Wow.
Right. That's how that one came about. The title came from a friend of mine. I was leaving on my first trip to Nashville to go and start cutting the record, and I was working at the nightclub, and the guy said, "Hey, stay for a drink." I said, "No, I got to be on a flight at 6 a.m." And my friend Melissa said, "Well, you go down there and show him who's Voss." And I said, I just might use that. So that's kind of where the title of that album came from. And I had it was a pinch me, I'm dreaming moment. Harry Stinson was, he played on and sang on more records hit records than I owned. And my ultimate, the album that solidified in my mind what I was going to do with my life was Guitar Town from Steve Earle. And Harry was the drummer on that whole record. So when I had the opportunity to work with him, I jumped at it. And to this, that was a pinch beyond dreaming moment for me.
Oh, no kidding, hey?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So again, you got some airplay. You got to tour a bit of the world. You got to go to Europe and Central and South America with that.
Yeah, I had I didn't have any management or any guidance or any direction on how to release music in a proper what you do first and how you roll out the release of an album. I was just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it would stick. And so with that in mind, I'm pretty happy with how what I was able to accomplish with that record. I toured. We'll put it this way: I released it on a Monday, I believe, and I think that's the ultimate faux pas. But I toured around here, and I got lots of work in Canada, and then I wanted to go further. My dream was to go over to Europe and work over there. So after I had exhausted every mile around Canada, I started pushing my music over in Europe, and I managed to go over there twice. In fall of 2015 and spring of 2016, I believe it was.
Wow, that's amazing. Where were you in Europe?
Germany.
Germany, Ireland, yeah.
Yeah, Ireland, Germany. I did a gig in France, believe it or not. And then the second time around, I did a run of shows in the Netherlands. I had the opportunity for open for a band from New York called Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes. So that was a thrill because I got to play some theaters over there.
Right. And were you touring solo, or did you have a band with you at that point?
The first time I went, it was solo, and then the second time, my friend Annette Campaign came along with me. She was her getting established her own career over in France, so she tagged along and she backed me up on some shows, and I backed her up as a guitar player on a few of her shows. So it worked out pretty good.
Right.
Wow. And who was organizing the whole tour for you? Did you have someone, or did you have to be part of that as well? Like, that's an enormous task.
That was cold calling and cold emailing.
Oh my God, JJ.
All over the world.
Wow.
In different languages. And yeah, I spent months. I did have a friend of mine here was born in Germany, and he has a soft spot for what I do. So he connected me with a few people to reach out to, and then they helped line up a few house concerts. But no, it wasn't really industry help. It was pretty much boots on the ground, old-fashioned digging for that tour, for those tours.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
So I was going to rewind a bit here, but when I was telling you about that article that I read, and it was in a Nashville music magazine, they talked about you facing 10 years in jail, and that's how the song Innocent Man came to be, because you were wrapped up in something that you eventually exonerated yourself, but you went through a pretty long, tumultuous time, I imagine, trying to clear your name.
Well, it's like anything. They say the truth. They say there's three sides to three stories to the truth. One person's side, the other person's perspective, and then the actual middle, what happened. Innocent Man is my perspective on the situation. I got jumped. I was working in a nightclub as a sound guy, and there was a group of fellas that didn't act too kindly towards me. And one night, a few of them jumped me, and it went out into the parking lot, and the cops showed up, and I wound up going in for questioning and being held overnight. And yeah, I was charged with assault, and it was assault with a weapon, and I was facing a 10-year. The maximum would have been 10 years.
Wow. Hey, sheepers.
Wow. So I mean, how did that affect you, really? Like, did you feel like, did it sort of affect your perspective of the world, being a storyteller? Did that make you a little less trusting of the ways of the world, or did it affect you in any color your perspective in any way?
I guess to some degree it became immediately evident that I had to get the hell out of the nightclub scene. That was the first thing. And I guess, it was good old boy culture, and I didn't really fit into that. I'm not sure why. I grew up, from where I come from, right from the heart belt of good old boy culture, but I didn't really fit into that, and I still don't to this day. So I suppose, as far as how it affects me long term, that would have been one revelation. And I don't know,
Well, your songs certainly reflect that. With "Come Along with Me" and all that. That sort of it's very positive music. So
Yeah, for sure.
well, I guess out of it all, I got a song out of the deal. I introduce the song whenever I play it. I say this may or may not be a true story, and it may or may not be about me. But it was my take on a situation, and I suppose everybody from their young years has some type of story, and that one's mine.
yeah. One of the things what we like about a lot of the people we talk to that we on our show, I guess you could say, is that a lot of the artists are self-starters and make it happen, and don't really rely, on a lot of support, because it's not always there. You seem to me like, like you said, you did all this without a manager. Your new record is JJ Voss. It's on your own label. Are you still self-managed?
Yeah. You have to be.
Yeah.
Or from my experience, I have to be. I was never anybody's first choice for. I'm not the most talented singer out there. I'm not the most talented guitar player. You know, managers and industry people were not beating down my door. And if I wanted to continue to live my dreams, you have to pick up the shovel and you have to get in the ditch and dig. And that's just been, that's been the way that my life has gone. And, that's kind of the way I was raised. My dad operated in a very similar fashion.
Good Saskatchewan work ethic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before you put out, Come Along With Me, which is also another great record, and all of these songs are on the playlist, by the way, and it's awesome.
So good.
You had some back trouble, and I guess it slowed you down for a while. In 2017, you had to have surgery.
Yeah, it was. It came to an abrupt stop. I was out living my dreams. I went to Europe twice, and then when I got back, I had an opportunity then to go over to Colombia to play for a rugby tournament, and all these things were, they were things that I'd always, some of them never even dreamed of doing, but it was happening. But all along, my back condition was getting worse and worse, and the more that you travel, the more time you spend in an airplane or sitting upright, the worse it was getting. And it just got to the point where I fell off my feet and I wasn't able to walk anymore. And I had been dreading it, and I knew that it wasn't going to get better, but I just kind of ran my wagon until the wheels fell off, so to speak.
Wow.
So that's so you have surgery and you're laying in bed, taking it the recovery day by day, and according to your bio release, this is when you wrote "Come Along With Me." For the most part, is when you were recuperating.
Yeah, the surgery went very well, but my recovery, I had a little bit of a slip on some ice as I was trying to rehab, and that set me back by a few months. And my recovery was pretty slow. It took me the better part of a year. And so I spent a lot of time on my back in bed. And my only connection to the world was on the phone or through social media. And there wasn't a lot of good things going on in the world at the time. It was, kind of the beginning of all of this intense partisanship and this division and this polarization and tribalism. And then again, you get back to communicating with people, and that's the only way you could was on social media. And you stopped having conversations on social media, and most of them turned into arguments. So, that did leave a pretty profound effect on me, because I was laying there in bed after leaving my career for a year and a half. I didn't know if there was going to be anything to go back to, or if there was even a reason to try again. Because, as I say, the good old boy culture that working in the country music scene, that is pretty prevalent. And when I would see social media posts of people who follow what I did and who were closely associated to the genre, I didn't know if, I don't know if those are my people, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of what motivated me, was to write a record that didn't add to the discontent and to the argument. I wanted to add something constructive with my voice. If I was going to say something, I wanted to do something that was constructive and that could maybe try to bridge some gaps and bring some people together. And I'm speaking personally amongst, friends that I've lost over the years.
Yeah, well, I think you definitely, accomplish something where it does bring a lot of, like, some people, songs that are really trying to bring people together rather than us all be just scattered and separated. So I think you really accomplished that. I think it's just it's pretty beautiful, and bringing some positivity into the world is what we need right now, desperately.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that.
Thanks for that. So I know that you were saying you were a sound man in a club, and you probably probably a lot of musicians fall back on you doing audio while they're doing their band, and then they can do sound one night and play a gig the next night. I had a lot of friends who did that sort of thing. You even mixed us Tucker Lane when we played in Dauphin, which was awesome to see a friendly face there. Not that everybody was angry, but someone you knew.
Yeah.
So this last record that you did, Come Along With Me, is this again, you recorded it yourself at home?
No, after the experience in Nashville when I worked with Harry, that was, it kind of took things to another level for me as far as my learning about the way that I wanted things to sound. Everything was recorded off the floor live and recorded as a band in full takes. And there's a lot of value in that. And at that point, you're capturing a performance. And to me, it's just a lot more musical. So I decided that going forward, anytime that I'm doing an album, whether I'm producing it or handing the reins off to somebody that I respect and trust, that's the way that I want to do it. So that's the way I worked with Murray Pulver from Winnipeg on this album, and that was the approach we went with on this album.
So you actually went to Winnipeg and did it?
He came to town, and we did I believe a batch of 4 songs on one session, and then he came back another month later, and we did the rest. We did all the bed tracks that way. Of course, there was overdubs, and I did vocals later. But as far as the bed tracks, the band playing it was played as performances.
And is this the JJ Voss band that you normally play with, or would this be something that you just put together for the recording project?
Jason Brinkworth has worked with me on and off over the years since I started. So it's been a long time, probably getting on 17 or 18 years. So he was on all of the sessions, and so he played drums on pretty much the whole album. The other players, Murray had a core of guys that he was working with. And so when he'd come to Regina, he would record a few songs for me, and then there was a few songs recorded for other artists. They would do them in batches, and it made it affordable and economical to do so. So that's most of the other musicians were from the Winnipeg scene.
Cool. That sounds great.
Yeah, it's a great record. I really wish you all the successes. 7 nominations this year at the SCMA Awards.
That's awesome.
Well, speaking of such, I I am going to cut you off for 1 second. The Tucker Lane album is top shelf. When it came out, I was rebuilding my snowblower, I believe, and I put it on repeat, and I think I listened to it 3 times. And hats off to you guys. I just met you a couple years ago, and I'm very, very impressed with the quality work that you guys put out. And I didn't know you many years back, but I wish I would have.
Well, there you go. I mean, we weren't here, and we're lucky to have you in among our circle of friends. And thank you for coming on our show tonight, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
so much.
I really do.
But
appreciate it.
and say hi to Tammy.
Yeah,
later.
give it a love to
But
Tim.
so I'm looking through your stuff, and you know, I've said this before on this show. It's like you see your musician friends, and you know, you don't always talk shop, and you're always, you know, you may be at a gig usually as well, you get the chance, or an event or something like that, because either you're working or I'm working, or you know, you live in different cities, two ships pass the night. But there's always been good vibes when you've been around. But so one of the reviews I read was Scott Ruse from NSMZ, who wrote a review of your record for Exclaim.
Right.
And the reviews have been really great for you. So way to go, man. But he said the first song is a love song to sobriety.
No, to society, I believe it was, but it could be sobriety. It could be sobriety.
I'm gonna go back and check that. Maybe I was drunk. Well, there you go.
I like where you're going with it.
We're gonna have to get fact checkers for our own show.
That's right.
Right?
Okay.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, so you also just released a new song to the CBC that we're hoping to hear soon. How's it been going for you at radio with this record? What's your strategy? Like, you know, you want to do this and you want to keep doing it, so you have to put the time in. And I guess now with the pandemic being
So hard.
you know,
Can't play.
you have more time to do the things that, you know, are required behind the scenes. So have you been strategizing at all about how to approach the upcoming months?
It changes on a weekly basis because there's nothing certain right now. You know, typically you would release an album and then you would tour it really hard for a year and then start thinking to the future. But I released the album, and we had to shift gears and learn this whole new technology and new way of approaching live music, which is this online phenomenon. So, you know, that's where for a professionally unemployed person, I'm busier than you can imagine, because every day you're learning a different platform and a different type of technology, and you're trying to keep as much digital content coming just to stay relevant and stay current. So, you know, my strategy evolves from week to week and month to month. And now that the vaccines seem to be rolling out and there is looking like there's light at the end of the tunnel, you know, now I am going to try to go back to playing some live shows when it's safe to do so. And, you know, I need to, I just simply need to to get in front of people. And also, you know, I paid for this whole record and for the promotions on it. I need to make some of that money back. And then, you know, in the meantime, a person has to start looking down the road and thinking to the future, because an album has, you know, a finite shelf life, and you always have to be coming out with something new. So that's a long answer, and I don't know if I really gave an answer to your question.
No, it's a good answer, and I'm glad you brought it up, because that's one thing that I noticed was that 2008, your first record came out. 2012, your second record came out, and then 2020, your third album came out. So the space between the records is growing. And to me, it feels like you got some momentum right now. I see your music stuff. I see it out there. And are you going to be taking 16 years to do the next one, or is it going to be out in 4 years, or what do you think?
No, that was, like I said, the deal with the last record was not. I toured in Canada for a few years, And instead of facing reality and say, okay, now let's start working on the next one, I just mentally wasn't done with it. And I wanted to go overseas, and I wanted to start breaking some ground there. So from a business standpoint, it probably wasn't the smartest move, but it was something that I did. And I also, in the back of my mind, knew that I had to deal with these health issues at a certain point. So I just put it off and put it off until I couldn't anymore. So that being said, now that I do have a little bit of momentum, and I've been able to reestablish my name as an artist who's releasing current work, it's imperative that I keep moving and that I come out with something. I don't. It ain't going to be this year for sure, but I would hope by next year that I'm going to be having some new music coming out.
Yeah,
Sure, that's awesome. That's good to hear.
That's good to hear, because I think now's your time. You're really, you're hitting your stride. Your first record, all your albums have been such a joy to listen to. So I hope that you flourish with this one and write some more great songs for the next one.
Well, thank you. I also learned a lot on this one, because this time I actually did hire people. I hired a publicist, I hired a radio promoter, and I hired a marketing manager. And so they helped teach me how to line up the dominoes and how to get some momentum. So, I wasn't going into it blind this time as I had in the past. So it was a learning curve, and basically I'm a late bloomer and a late learner. So.
Well, we can't do it all on our own, right? It's true. We do need to kind of build a bit of a team and people to help us around us, because it's just, it's too much really to do all on our own.
No,
right?
and please don't take it as a criticism. I just now that I've become a fan of your music, I don't want to wait that long for the next one. So.
Well, that's very kind. I was just about to hit the off button when you said that, but no, that's very kind, and I appreciate you guys working with me. Bringing me onto this show, because every bit of being visible sure helps.
Yeah, and we did the Canada Day Hallelujah song for Saskatoon's Virtual Canada Day last year. If anyone wants to go check it out. That will be on YouTube. Is it on the Honeytunes YouTube channel?
I think it is, yeah.
Honeytunes YouTube channel. JJ probably has it up somewhere, but you were really instrumental in the male part of that coming together, and it was so easy for everybody to sing with you once you put your part down. So it made our job a lot easier.
As soon as we heard JJ's vocal track, it was just like, oh man.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, you guys are downplaying your role in it, because you guys produced it and put it all together, and it was like herding cats. So it was amazing. It was amazing how it all came together, because this was thrown out to people. There was people recording their parts with cell phones, and to coordinate. And it was still a very brand new concept for everybody to even consider. This was only about 3 months into this thing. So, my hat's off to you guys for bring it all together, and it sounded incredible.
Yeah, well,
it just kind of came together.
There was some magic.
There was magic that happened
with that one. It just came together really, really nicely. Okay, JJ. Well, we can't wait to see you in person again, and maybe we'll share a stage. Our record's out. You got a record out. Maybe we can do some shows this summer somewhere. But I know you've come to Saskatoon many times, being from the province. Tell us your favorite Saskatoon story.
Yeah, to wrap it up, we need a Saskatoon story, if you've got one.
Well, I think I read in the disclaimer when I signed on that everything has to be pretty PG. So I don't know if I can tell you all my best Saskatoon story, but no, we used to play Stan's Place with a few different bands that I was in, and that was many moons ago. I was the guitar player at the time, and we sure had a lot of fun in that bar. Also the Crazy Cactus down the street. So I think probably the funniest story was there was a little bit of a territory. There was a bit of a turf war going on between the two bars, and one bar would go rat the other one out if they stayed open after hours or if there was drinking going on later. So it was kind of a cat and mouse game, and I happened to be playing at one bar when it it was kind of like Flintstones and the Hat Rocks fighting. So that was that's probably one of the funniest stories that I remember from Saskatoon.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Right
thank
on.
you so much for coming on the show.
And anything up and coming you want,
yeah.
to plug? You got your cafe. What do you call that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
thing
do.
You do.
I do a Wednesday night show called Live and Local. We've done 9 of them, and we're wrapping it up next Wednesday with my guest, Will Ardell. So it's Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. on my Facebook page, or else we've been doing this from a couple of different coffee shops. We're going to be at Brewed Awakenings. They're not actually open for business, but we're broadcasting from their the vibe in the room is really neat. So we're going to be there next Wednesday at 7, and my guest is going to be Will Ardell.
Awesome. Coffee shop. I gotta love coffee shop names. Brewed Awakenings. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm sorry. I was hoping to have you guys on the show with me at one point, but the pandemic didn't allow, so we'll have to plan something in the future.
You bet.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, JJ, that's great having you on the show here with us. It's great talking to you. Great learning a little bit more about you. These are questions that probably under the normal circumstances wouldn't be asking you all kinds of stuff like this. So you might think like, what are you writing a book or something? But, it's great to talk to you and get to know a bit more about you. And hopefully the people who are listening know more about you too.
And we got that playlist too, JJ Voss playlist on the Green Room YXE on Spotify.
Yeah.
So check that out for sure, because JJ Voss is amazing. You'll fall in love with him, fall in love with his voice. So thank you so much, JJ, for coming on the show. It's been amazing. I hope you'll come on again because we have many more things to talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet, man.
Yeah. Take care, JJ. Well, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's such a kind guy.
Oh my God. He's amazing. We're just going to wrap up now. The show, what's going on around town. I think it changes from week to week. So just check on, the
and again,
clubs
we ask any clubs that want to give us a heads up and we can give them a plug for the weekend coming up. Let us know. But
yeah. And we want to thank the guests, Dave Rave and JJ Voss. And again, we have those playlists on the Green Room YXE on Spotify. Just search that and go listen to their music. They are amazing artists. We want to thank Field Fox Gardens and Cookery. Order that lasagna at fieldfox.ca. Give yourself a night off. And the lasagna is amazing. It's organic. It's gluten-free. So definitely check them out at fieldfox.ca. And please subscribe and follow No YXE on YouTube and Facebook. The Green Room also has t-shirts, so be sure to check that out. And our shameless self-promotion moment is we've got a band called Tucker Lane, and we have a new album out called Random Fireworks on a Beach Obscured by Trees. Check that out. It's on digital and streaming platforms. Also check out tuckerlane.ca. Also, No YXE has some really awesome shows, and their other shows are YXE Sports Podcast, Mondays at 6 o'clock, Let's Chat, Tuesdays at 11 a.m., and In Focus, YXE, Thursday at 7 p.m. That's a fun game show. And Slow TV YXE, I think, is still on, maybe, Sunday at 10 a.m. Sunday at 10 a.m. if you want to chill out on your Sunday morning. And if you're an artist and you have something coming up, please be sure to email us at thegreenroomYXE at noyxe.com. So that's it for this week. We hope you guys have a great week. And keep rocking and rolling.
Peace out.